Welcome to the top 8 of the Meta Weekly, mate. By watching as long as you can, that greatly supports these videos, even if you have me on in the background while you're folding some laundry. We're going to start this off with Gimmick Puppet, first turn kill. I think there's quite a few within the top 8. What is going on in today's event? With the fall of Tempai, so many other decks are rising, and they're all climbing all over each other for the top spot. Hajime.
There can only be one winner, and you're looking at it. Let's go.
Dark Beckoning Beast, searching for our Spirit Gates. We're going to additional summon our D-Lotus. We're playing against a Nibiru Ashimaxi. Ashing the D-Lotus, that is a great play, thus leading us to finger their Ash. Negate. We're going to chain Maxi to the finger. You want to be making these plays. You want to protect your Maxi with your Ash. Trick them into fingering your Ash to protect the Maxi. If you start off with Maxi first, it would have been fingered, but then I believe that would have been the incorrect play. We're now going to follow up with a Nightmare Pain. Nightmare Pain, pop the Spirit of Yubel, grab the Squirmer here. As the Spirit of Yubel triggers the summon of Yubel from the deck. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying here. If you had just Maxi, it would have been okay to activate right away. If you have Ash plus Maxi, then you don't activate right away. As we now Nibiru the entire field, ain't no way. 0 attack token. We're going to Spirit Gate, search our deck, return from the grave to summon a Phantom of Yubel, all under max freaking C. Holy moly, we're gaining massive value. If any of you had the thought to use that Maxi early, you completely threw this entire duel by doing so. Unbelievable. 8 cards in the hand so far. We had 10 cards total from this. 11 cards total. The engrave and banish is what I'm looking at. Now, what did we end up with? We have the Phantom of Yubel, which will negate a monster. We have the Impermanence, which will negate a monster. And we have the D-Lotus, which rarely does it negate a monster, but it will negate a monster here. It actually has that effect of, if you have a Yubel on field, you're going to turn their effect into destroy the Yubel. Now, there's a big way to screw this up, and I know Sniffus will not do it. D-Lotus being activated before Phantom of Yubel has the opponent destroying your Phantom of Yubel, then you lose that disruptive negate. Do not do that. And we have nothing else in the graveyard. Now, with our 10-card hand, I'm sure we could play through this triple disruption field. Let's go. We're going to Maxi in our draw phase before the elf is activatable. Condolence Puppet sending 3 cards from the deck to the grave, which will trigger the Fiendish Knight when sent to the grave to add back to the hand. Terra Baby is going to make it so you can't chain to any of my Gimmick Puppet monster effects. We do not want that to go through, so the Phantom of Yubel will negate you, as the Call by the Grave fingers the Phantom of Yubel to negate. We also had the ability to make all our Gimmick Puppets completely untargetable in addition to non-respondable. So Imperm would have been useless. They would not be able to D-Lotus. It would also be useless. And by fingering the Phantom of Yubel, that also turns off the D-Lotus because now there's no Yubel to destroy with the effect of D-Lotus by changing your effect. Let's hop into game number 2. We're going to grab a Dark Beckoning, summon it searching for the Spirit Gates, additional summon the Chaos Summoning to now make a Sprite Elf. One, 2, 3 monster negates on Apollo, a monster negate on Phantom, so that's 4. We have Soul of Rage, which links off the monster into a Little Knight Banish, that's 7. Plus the Escape, which is 8. That is 8 disruption, mate. Oh my. Now, we don't have an Omni negate to negate the Condolence Puppet. And what's going to happen is it's going to make it so you can't target me nor chain to any of my effects. This completely nullifies all 8 disruptions, a single Condolence Puppet. But not really. The monsters we send have to not be negated when we banish them to make us untargetable and uninteractable, which the Apollo will negate the cards in grave. So while we're not negating the Condolence Puppet itself, we negate what is being sent to the grave. Get Condolence in. Holy, send 5 cards? I just said that Painful Choice was broken and we just sent 5. Now we are triggering the Rogue Doll and the Fiendish Knight, Chainlink blocking the Rogue Doll as it adds from the grave back to the hand. And let's see if this goes through. It's a big problem. We have to negate that. Very well done. Unfortunately, we don't have Impermanence, which we wouldn't be able to use on the Apollo anyway. Max C being negated by the Phantom of Yubel, ain't no way. No Call by the Grave to finger that Phantom of Yubel. Thus, we still have that Apollo ready to negate again the Bisque Doll from Engrave, which attempts to make our field untargetable. So we're going to skip out from even activating that, or as we're now going to activate it to make our field untargetable. So we can now target still, and we can still respond to the activations. So the big play of Condolence Puppet has been completely nullified, besides the fact that it added the Fiendish Knight and the Rogue Doll from the deck to our hand. Now we're going to use the Apollo's final negate. What do we have left to mate? We could link, banish, and pop, or disruptions left. We're going to Rogue Doll, summon a Rogue Doll, reborn the Yama from the grave. Yama's going to trigger to add back a Shavara from Engrave, as we are ready with the escape. We're going to send a Scissor from the deck to the grave, which doesn't really do anything, as we now make a Machine X. Machine X is not a trigger effect. It needs the open game state to activate. This is the great opportunity to activate Escape or Soul of Rage. And with Soul of Rage still left being activatable, we win the duel. All you had to do was negate the cards we send with Condolence. Otherwise, they would have been untargetable and non-respondable. Apollo paired up with the Phantom of Yubel, winning the entire duel. Let's hop into game 3. We are a first turn kill deck without a first turn kill hand. This is the second time today I have seen the first turn player Gimmick Puppet completely brick, and in both times, they bricked with a Terror Baby in hand. Damn. We do have Bell, Droll, and Called By. I'll just count the Called By as a form of disruption. We can Droll and Lockbird, stop them from further searching, or not, as the Call by the Grave fingers the Droll and Lockbird, as we now Ghost Bell to negate the finger, as we use another finger to negate the Bell. I don't think so. Finger the Bell, finger the Droll, negate. I think Bell's going to be shooting up in popularity with the Mulcharmies. Protect your Mulcharmies from those dirty fingers. Now, there's a third finger, but it's our finger. We are going to be waiting. When do we use that? We're going to set up the Spirit Gate, grab another Dark Beckoning from the deck, additional summon the Dark Beckoning to now make our Lord of Yama. Let's speed this up. Lord of Yama, grab Shavara, discard to attempt to reborn from the graveyard. Now, the problem is, this is a non-target reborn. You are not supposed to tell your opponent what you're reborning until the resolution. Thus, we change our mind on what we want to summon. We summon the Dark Beckoning instead. We now make our Soul of Anguish, which needs an opposing monster to link off with. We're just going to destroy it to trigger the Yama to reborn a monster from the graveyard. Also, the Anguish will add back a Fiend monster engraved to our hand to be discarded with 1-for-1. 1-for-1 was dead. It needs a monster to discard to activate. No, summon D-Lotus. No, I'm confused. D-Lotus, Spirit of Yubel, wham bam, thank you ma'am. Playing around Nib? What? Seriously? I'm confused. We're not under max C. We double fingered and we had the 1-for-1 not activatable, then now became activatable. Okay. Look at that. Baby was dead. Then we drew another baby, double dead. We make a Typhon, which now gets linked off with into a Yama, not even a Little Knight. We don't even care to banish your Engrave baby because we are confident that you don't have other plays if you were to activate that baby to make it so we can't respond to your activations. Oh boy, I think Gimmick Puppet has not, yeah, they're done. This did not look good for Gimmick Puppet, to no fault of the player themselves. Lethal damage. Sometimes it happens, you brick. With great power comes great bricks. Gera. 10 months from Gera. Hello, Decade. I will always remember the day Abomod lost to Dark Magician and Invoked. That was a memorable day. Truly a moment that defined Mickey Mouse gameplay. Abomod is the reason Pot of Greed explains what it does. True. Thank you for the 10 months, my friend. I'm loving it. Let's keep on Xbox gaming. Now, is the Game Pass actually a good deal? I could not believe that they say they have 100 million subscribers or something like that. You tell me, who's Game Passing in the chat? We are going to chain Maxi to the activation of the Saphira to perform a ritual summon. We're going to Ash Blossom negate that Maxi. I don't think so. All after the Saphira has searched for our Skull Guardian. Come forth, tributing a Dogmatica Maximus to summon that Skull Guardian to search for the very much needed low. But we can't search for low if they have an impermanence in hand to negate the Skull Guardian from searching our low. Now, beyond that, we have pre-prep, and pre-prep could have searched for a card called Sarvis, which would have negated the impermanence. But you can't use the pre-prep search if you don't have a ritual spell from your deck to add. And normally, I don't believe we're playing more than 2 ritual spell. Let's double check that. This is called Prayer of the Voiceless. Did we actually make a mistake or it wasn't activatable? I believe it just wasn't activatable, right? There's no way we made an oopsie. 100% played at 2, we had both, and the Saphira is also not activatable if you do not have a ritual spell in the deck. So you may be thinking we should have pre-prepped as our first play, but then Saphira also gets screwed up. You must send a ritual spell from the deck to the graveyard with Saphira, and you must search a ritual spell to search for the ritual monster for the preparation of rites. We just got unlucky. And due to that unluck, we have 0 disruption. We have a Skull Guardian plus setting, the Prayers of the Voiceless, and that is it. Oh boy. King Sark plus a Cattle. We're gonna use the King Sark, discard the Cattle, send from the deck a Quebehesa Noof, the Protection of Horus, yep. And then we're gonna discard Crossout Designator to send an I'm Steady from the deck. To battle we go, big enough to simply attack over the Skull Guardian. You do not want to King Sark it to the grave because that would trigger the Engrave Prayers of the Voiceless, which says accept the damage step. So actually you could have done that if you wanted to, but we want to take battle damage. Give them battle damage, that is. As we now make a Machine X searching for the rank up Argent Chaos Force to rank up our Machine X within main phase 2 into the Chaos Machine X. The Chaos Machine X will be searching our deck for the Service Puppet play. Now, what are the forms of disruption we have here? By ending on the Chaos Machine X, it is a built-in disruption. If the opponent special summons, we can target to destroy. Now, the problem with targeting against Voiceless is if they are able to set up a Skull Guardian plus a low, they become untargetable thanks to the barrier. Probably not gonna be able to set that up though before we at least get to pop 1 special summon monster. And then in the back row, we have the Puppet Play, which again, will target a monster per Gimmick Puppet exceeds we control to take control of it. That's our second form of disruption. And we have an Infinite Impermanence, triple disruption. Now, we did top deck a Diviner, which is a great card that we definitely want. And it can be scary to Imperm Diviner because of Sarvis or the Trias, which is nowhere to be seen. And again, pre-preparations, not usable to grab the Sarvis to make us untargetable from the impermanence. Voiceless is in big trouble against these 3 disruptions. Diviner sent for the deck, nothing. We knew earlier that your Skull Guardian got negated without a Sarvis, so it should work again. Diviner negated, no send of the low, but we could turn Diviner into the Typhon, which the Chaos Gimmick Puppet could not activate since it's over 3,000 attack. We're going to use the Puppet Play to take control of the Typhon, then give it back during the end phase, thus leading to Voiceless surrendering. Voiceless, try again. Let's hop into game 2. Now, Voiceless, again, not a good turn 1. We have just hand traps and a ritual spell that's not even activatable. We got Ash, Ogre, and Maxi, which should be good enough, but the opponent has the dreaded Finger. Now, we don't know if they're going to draw another Finger or even into an Ash. Let's find out as we simply end our turn 1 with no play. Uh-oh. Let's see, 2 disruption, top decking the Gimmick Puppet field spell, which alone, that 1 card is enough for first turn kill. We're going to Ghost Ogre, destroy the King Sark on it, discarding a Maxi to send from the deck an I'm Seti. Goodbye to you. As we follow up with the Mansion of Gimmick Puppet, we're going to Ash Blossom negates effect to search. As we call by the grave, finger the Ash Blossom, and now we're at a crossroads. Holy moly, we're at a defining moment here. The field spell resolving is a full 1-turn kill. It's first turn kill, it's 1-turn kill, it does not matter what turn it is, it wins the entire duel. But we're now under Max C, and we know that their hand is pretty much dead, or at least could maybe be another hand trap. Maybe I would expect an impermanence in the hand. Because of the fear of impermanence, we may not go all the way. Or will Karma just say, screw it, we're gonna take the Maxi challenge and deal 8,000 damage. Now, if we were first turn killing, it would require a ton of special summoning, but because we have the attack, it's gonna require much less. I think Karma should do it. We're on the World Champion stage, Karma. This is the final duel. It's for $100,000 worth of Nintendo Switches. Will you take that Maxi challenge? Grabbing the little soldiers. Little soldier on summon, sent from the deck. The Rogue Doll, we have not special summoned yet. We're going to be checking for... No, the Ash already... Wow! Bro, Karma just ended on a 0-attack gimmick puppet little soldier with just a Maxi in hand. You did not take the Maxi challenge. Unbelievable. All right, Nadir serving off the top of our deck to help us get things going as we send Garura to draw a card, searching for Maximus, randomly drawing into a Sarvis. Now we have that targeting protection. We're going to be banishing to summon Maximus, and now we are on the opposite end of the Maxi challenge. What do? Maximus will give them that free draw. Maximus will be sending the Arclight and Entis to pop a card in the field and search for a ritual card. Do we commit to a Skull Guardian summon? I say 100%. There's no reason not to. It is going to be, they draw one, and we also have a negate. Come forth into Skull Guardian. And you would maybe think if they have an Ash Blossom, they draw a card, they Ash my Skull Guardian, then it's not good. But remember, they fingered your Ash, thus they fingered themselves, so they cannot Ash the Skull Guardian, and you're also protected from a Veiler. This is a great play even under Max C. There's Imperm off the top of the deck, which would not be activatable even if we had no monsters in the field. Search the low, set up the barrier, now we're untargetable. Barrier searching for the Saphira. Are we going all the way? 8,000 life Karma with a 0-attack little soldier blocking the use of Imperm, which would not even be activatable thanks to the barrier and the Sarvis protection. Double Skull Guardian, and just like that, 8250. You passed on the Maxi challenge to then lose to the Maxi challenge. Just take the challenge, just do it. Damn. You got to go all in. That's going to be, wow. I don't want to, make a player feel bad, but I would maybe lose a little bit of sleep over that duel. Finally, Voiceless has a pretty good hand, but they are going second. We're going to be opening up with Little Soldiers, send from the deck a Rogue Doll, add back after being sent. Activate Rogue Doll, this is when you would want to Ash Blossom them. Chain the Maxi. And just like that, we're going to Ash negate the Maxi. I don't think so, mate. We ended on 2 gimmick puppets on field that don't do anything, but we have the puppet play, which will take control of up to 2 monsters equal to the amount of gimmick puppet exceeds we control. And then we have impermanence. So double disruption, double take control, and 1 imperm monster negate. Let's go. The Nadir Servant can start this off by randomly destroying one of those back row cards. First, we're going to Saphira. Saphira with her feet sending the ritual spell to grab a Skull Guardian from the deck, and we are not Nadir Servanting before summoning our Skull Guardian. Interesting. Why not pop a back row card as the Skull Guardian eats the impermanence and gets negated from searching for what the opponent would believe to be a low search? Well, we have Diviner. I believe we are looking at our hand and going, Diviner's the main play. Diviner all the way. So let's do everything else. Let's eat up the back row. Let's not even Nadir Servant first. Let's Skull Guardian eat up a back row, Nadir Servant eat up the other back row, and then we whip out the Diviner. Entis being sent, as I predicted, taking out the puppet play, take control of the Skull Guardian. And what we have left is an open normal summon of our Diviner plus a Maximus in hand. Voiceless is in a great spot. We're going to send Triash from the deck with Diviner, tribute off the Diviner to summon Triash, trigger the Diviner to summon from the deck a low. Low activate to set up into the back row a barrier. Now we're going to Maximus, banish the Entis from engrave to come forth and summon, send 2 more cards from the extra deck to the grave. These are improperly summoned, so they are not rebornable no matter what you sent. And we do have the Arclight being triggered to search for a ritual card, plus the Garura to randomly draw into a Max C. Searching specifically for our Skull Guardian, barrier adding the Blessing of the Voiceless, activating it to be able to add back from the grave or banishment a Voiceless voice card. We have the Ritual spell. We're now going to Ritual summon over the low to summon the Skull Guardian to trigger the low to reborn from the grave, setting up our Omni negate. This is great. This Skull Guardian also cannot be destroyed by battle. 140, 150, big enough to take out the puppet strings. Now, the opposing Skull Guardian will come back to us, but it is a hard once per turn negate. What are our forms of disruption here? We have the ability to negate anything, and that is it. That's all we can do. Our field's untargetable. Puppet play is activating to reborn from engrave a gimmick puppet Xyz, or I should say any Xyz monster engrave, that is. What do with that one negate? As we now turn this into a Link 2, all under Max C. The newly drawn card off the top of the deck, Ash Blossom, thanks to that Link summon, negating the Link 2 ability to search for a monster and special summon the Bisque Doll from hand. And just like that, Gimmick Puppet bending the knee to Voiceless. Starting this off with Kodal, searching our deck for a Gazelle. I would say one of the big downsides of Branded is if you're playing the 60-card version and going second, even though you have a good go second, you're not going to really be opening up hand traps. I don't know if we're playing the Dark Statue, but the Beatrice could send it from the deck to then reborn it, and then you're locked into Dark Monsters only. We have Diabels forcing us to set a card like Branded in red. A quick play spell is now completely turned off and not activatable this turn unless we deal with the Diabels. And if we set the Thrust to activate it, the Diabels can activate to destroy the Thrust. So Floodgate plus Pop. We also have a Chimera Fusion, which will be a disruption, another Chimera Fusion, which will be a disruption. We also have the Sword Knight, which will negate a monster effect on field. We have Kodal negating an effect that targets us if it's not Chainlink blocked. We also have Call by the Grave, which I could say is quite disruptive against Branded. It's about 6 disruptions, I'd say here, maybe 7, depending on what the Beatrice is doing. What the Beatrice do? Lubellion searching for a Bestial as the Call by the Grave fingers that Lubellion. I do not think so. Negates. Thrust, still not activatable. They did not use Beatrice at the very start of our turn, which would have turned on our Thrust. Albion is going to send from the deck an Albaz to draw a card into a Nibiru. We're going to set our cards, then end the turn. Ain't no way using 2 cards in the field to summon a Chimera Guardian, which will non-target pop those 2 cards. Diabels paired up with the multiple Chimera Fusions. This turn 1 proving to be way too powerful, as we're now triggering a ton of effects here. Baphomet Reborn, Gazelle Search, pop the field, draw a card. Let's hop into game 2. Now April is going first. Let's go. Just Gold Sark alone is our play, if we wanted to, as we banish a Tragedy to grab an Alibur. This is very powerful. Mirror Jade non-target monster banish, imperm negate a monster, Branded in red, add from the grave to then perform a fusion, which will be another disruption. I'm not sure what we're going to fuse into here. Branded lost, which will search for a Mercurier, which will negate a monster effect. We then, with the Mirror Jade, could send a Rinbrum, which could reborn the Albaz to fuse with the opponent's field. That's 5 disruption. And we haven't even talked about the banishment, which could reborn from the grave, then fuse with their field, which could be a form of disruption. And then, whatever we fuse into being another form of disruption, about 7 disruptions. Let's see what's good. Sword Knight being normal summon to summon from the deck a Baphomet. Baphomet's going to be met with an Impermanence. We're going to chain Super Poly, discarding our Dark Statue to fuse with our side of the field plus theirs to dodge the Impermanence to get the Mirror Jade in grave to summon a Dragostapelia. Uh-oh. Now, the Mirror Jade will activate to destroy all opposing monsters during the end phase, but will there even be an end phase? This, I believe, really screwed up our disruptions. We lose the Mirror Jade, and we probably lose the Rinbrum, so we're now down to 5 disruptions. Unless we can get another Mirror Jade on the field here. Banishment, reborn the Mirror Jade, so it's now back to having the Rinbrum. Are we fusing with their field? We're not. We are fusing with their field. Fusing up their Dragostapelia and Sword Knight into a Guardian Chimera. Wait, no. Wait, what? We can't do that. That would have to be the hand field. So we did not fuse. So we're now down to 5 disruption. We did not make use of fusing with their field. We're going to Gazelle. Mirror Jade. Non-target monster banished to get rid of the Guardian Chimera, which what's happening right now is the Guardian Chimera is destroying 2 cards on the field, which is going to screw up our Branded Lost, which was another form of disruption, which should have given us a Mercurier. Now, before we get destroyed, we're going to brand it in red. The problem with branded in red is whenever we summon will not trigger if it gets destroyed by the Guardian Chimera. Uh-oh. Add back a Quem. Perform a fusion with the Quem into the Coritis. Coritis does want to be destroyed. So now down to 4 disruption. Non-target monster banished. Say goodbye to you. Guardian Chimera, taking out the loss. We're now down to, what are our forms of disruption? I think we just got completely wiped out here as we say goodbye to the thrust in hand. Wow. You would think the thrust did nothing, right? The talents, that is. The thrust was needed on their turn. We needed thrust. By losing thrust, we now lose Rinbrum, Reborn Albaz to fuse with their field. That sucks. We got screwed. And the Coritis is not going to be able to do anything relevant. We got nothing. We lost the Mercurier search. We lost the Rinbrum fuse with their fields. We lost a lot of plays. That Super Poly was big. Also into that triple tactics talent. We have the Chimera fusion here, activating to discard a card from the opposing player's hand, which there are none. The Coritis is hoping that it gets destroyed or leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, which it can't summon in Albaz, then discard. We have nothing in hand to discard. We have the Mirror Jade wiping out the opposing field. Goodbye to the Guardian Chimera. In the end phase, we have a set Chimera fusion, but we're still in a good spot. We have Engrave the ability to use the Chimera fusion to reborn a monster from Engrave if we want to, which we weren't forced to do. As we're now going to start this off with a Polymerization Search into an Edgem Chain, thanks to the Frankfurt Patchwork. We now have Rinbrum. Rinbrum, Reborn Albaz to fuse with their field is now a play. But is it a play? Not really, because they have Engrave a Sword Knight, which will negate the Albaz, meaning we need the Albaz to be chain link blocked, which we have no way to chain link block it, really. Unless, in response to Coritis being destroyed or leaving the field, we then chain the effect to reborn the Albaz. And what's going to happen is the Albaz will be on Chainlink 1, the Coritis will be on Chainlink 2, Chainlink blocking the Sword Knight from negating the Albaz. Do we even have a play like that? I don't know. If we have that opportunity, we definitely do. It's going to have to be a targeting disruption. If it's a Guardian Chimera, we can't make that play. Master Tau being sent from the deck to reborn a Nightmare Apprentice. Go Chimera, I see in the chat. We have Nightmare Apprentice searching for a Sword Knight, which we do have our open normal summon. And here comes the dreaded Guardian Chimera. No, what? It is the Chimera, the Illusion Beast, because we use 2 monsters in the field, but there's no 2 cards in the field to get poppin'. The Chimera, the Illusion Beast, has the effect of it can attack per fusion material. And what did we use? 2 cards in the hand, 2 cards in the field, which is exactly what you do when you want to perform lethal damage with just the Chimera Illusion Beast. A monster that battles with this cannot be destroyed by that battle, but on the first battle, it reduces the monster to 0 attack. And then at 3100 attack, we have 3 more attacks because we used 4 monsters for the fusion summon. This is it. This never happens because the opponent always surrenders before it inflicts lethal damage. Will April surrender? Takes 600, reduce to 0, takes 31, takes another 31. Lethal damage, the 4th and final attack. We're going to Rinbrum, Reborn Albaz to then discard and fuse with their opposing field. But as I said, the Sword Knight was there ready to negate as we had no chain link block for that Albaz play. Negate. Lethal damage. April, thank you so much for allowing us to see that play. I know you got unlucky. You played very well. Thank you for showcasing Branded in today's tournament. And also, good job to Crobat for winning this match, advancing to the top 4 with Chimera. We lost game 1 and 2. I don't know what happened. Something bugged out. Konami's a small indie company. Let's forgive them. This is Ritual Beast versus Yubel. Game 3. You didn't miss out on any duels. We're just starting off at game 3. Begin. Alito going first after losing game 2 of the Shadow Duel. Dark Beckoning Beast adding in addition to the, the Maxi did get fingered. So we did in fact finger ourselves, no longer going to be usable here. The Phantom of Yubel will negate a monster. The Soul of Rage will be able to link off with a special summon into a Little Knight double banish. So that's 4 disruption, plus with Yama Engrave and an escape, we have the ability to pop any card in the field, giving us 5 disruptions. Now, Ritual Beast has the power of Ulti Ray, stating that neither player could tribute cards to activate a card or effect. And that's exactly what Phantom of Yubel is doing, tributing itself to activate an effect. But the problem is it is a link 4. It is going to be difficult to summon. We could window crash summon, but then the Soul of Rage could link off with it. We're going to Elder additional summon to Pangu after using the effect of Laura to additional summon the Elder, so we still have a regular normal summon. We are going to use the Escape of Unchained to try to pop the Rapangu, but we protect it with the effect of Tamer Laura by banishing instead. Now what's going to happen is the Laura will trigger to summon a monster from the deck, which is a good use of your Ash if you have one, and the Yama is going to trigger to reborn the Soul of Rage back on field, ready to link off with a special summon monster. The problem is the Elder and Rapangu are not special summoned. We cannot Soul of Rage them, but we can Soul of Rage Winda into Little Knight, into Banish, but then we have the Canahawk for the follow-up play. Come forth, Little Knight. Little Knight on summon, banishing the Rapangu, and here's the problem. Elder can ride Canahawk, as we have that additional summon to summon our regular Canahawk. Pangu and Canahawk can't ride each other. They're 2 spiritual beasts. We needed a tamer. You left up my tamer, so the tamer tames the beast, and we are now popping off into a regular Ultipelio. Ultipelio will, I guess, just end the turn on no disruption. Yeah, we don't really have much now, do we? That's a problem. And we also have the Phantom of Yubel, which would just negate it from jumping off the field. Oh boy. Let's see what is good. We are going to discard, try to reborn, and just like that, game 3 going to Yubel, knocking out Ritual Beast from the event, a deck that won the whole thing last week. My opinion on Tachyon OCG support, I only know that you could tech Tachyon into any deck that can make a rank 8 Xyz, or now having a negate, and that's pretty cool. Blue Eyes was using it until they received more support. We have Gazelle getting negated by Ash Blossom as we then follow up with the Kodo. I would say the Baphomet is a good priority to use something like an Impermanence on. So by making Little Knight first, it accomplishes 2 things. It's going to play around the Baphomet restriction of you cannot perform a Link summon for the rest of the turn. It's only fusion monster, so it's our last chance to make a Little Knight, and Little Knight will help the Baphomet dodge an Impermanence if they were to be holding on to one. Set the Chimera Fusion, randomly discarding a Call by the Grave. That is incredible because that Call by the Grave would have wanted to finger a card like the Sword Knight, which will now be able to negate a monster on field. We have Sword Knight negate a monster effect on field, Kodal negate an effect that targets us. We do have Little Knight, which will chain banish. We have the Chimera Fusion, which will turn into a disruption. We have the Ash Blossom, which will negate an effect to interact with the deck. We have anything else here? A form of disruption from the graveyard. We don't have Diabel's Engrave, so we're going to call it just like that at 5 disruption. Start this off with a Peri-Reese map. We're not going to use our Ash, which would play right into the Triple Tactics talent, as we add the D-Lotus to summon D-Lotus to activate D-Lotus to jump off the field to summon for the deck, but the Sword Knight still knows that you activate the effect on field, thus we negate. Or disruption left, we can now Triple Tactics talent, try to draw 2, as the Ash Blossom will negate you. Negate. 3 disrupt left. And just like that, it's pretty much 2 to 3. The Codal would only be activatable if they were activating to target us. Chimera taking game number 1 as they surrender with a Super Poly in hand. You would think Super Poly's great at breaking the field, but not in this instance. Let's get popping off. Going first will be Yubel in Spirit Gate play. All right, we're gonna maxi them right away in the draw phase as we don't even bother negating it with our Ash Blossom, searching for our Dark Beckoning, searching for another Spirit Gate. We're going to be hard summoning our Phantom of Yubel with the Dark Beckoning on field. So the opponent just draws 1 instead of us losing our Ash Blossom. It pretty much goes even. Now with the Escape of Unchained, it's completely dead, but with Phantom of Yubel, it's also dead because they have a Call by the Grave. So our Disrupt of a monster effect through Phantom of Yubel will be stopped. We do have Ash Blossom, which will be competing for that finger. You're gonna finger their Ash or their Phantom or their Droll, being their 3rd form of disruption. Let's go. Right for Patrick off the top of the deck. We're gonna activate that right away. Holding on to that Ash as we add a 2nd copy of Poly plus the Edge Imp Chain. We're gonna Droll in Lockbird, stop them from further adding from the deck. And that is what we are choosing to finger. Not the Phantom, not their Ash. Negate and banish the Droll and Lockbird. We have 2 more forms of disruption, Ash and Phantom of Yubel. Now, it's worth noting that the Phantom of Yubel says it cannot be used as fusion material. We cannot use our own Super Poly to fuse it up to get rid of that disruption. Gazelle on summon, searching for a quick play Chimera fusion. We're going to use regular polymerization to fuse with just 2 bodies, not 3, to make our Chimera King. Chimera King fusion on summon will activate to randomly discard a card from the opponent's hand during the end phase. As the Gazelle on Chain Link 2, getting Chain Link blocked by Edge Imp Chain, will be searching our deck for an illusion monster as the Edge Imp Chain searches for a dead Fright for Patchwork. We now have a Nightmare Apprentice. Discarding the dead Fright for Patchwork for our Nightmare Apprentice to activate and search our deck for an illusion monster. That is when the Phantom of Yubel is now going to choose to negate. No illusion monster from the deck for you. Negate and pop a Spirit of Yubel, summon a Yubel from the deck, and now we're going to super polymerize, discarding polymerization, using your Yubel and our Nightmare Apprentice to make a Baphomet. Baphomet can activate to send from the deck to the grave. We do have Ash Blossom to negate. No send for you, and just like that, we got 0 disruption. Nothing left. What are we doing off of that? We're going to Chimera Fuse. Not using 3 to make the Guardian Chimera, we're going to make a Magnum Reliever, which will destroy any card on the field in response to anything activating from either player. Master Tau triggering to reborn the Nightmare Apprentice, which will then allow the Magnum Reliever to chain to our own effect by banishing Super Poly to destroy the Escape of Unchained, which will activate to summon a Shavara from the deck. There it is. Shavara's here. Shavara pretty much does nothing. Reliever is going to return a polymerization back in the deck to draw 1. Chimera Fusion is going to return itself in the grave back to our hand. To battle we go. Wipe out the Shavara with no escape to set from the deck. 2800 to the face. As we now main phase 2 it up into a Little Knight on summon, banish a card from either player's field or graveyard. We're not going for the Spirit Gates on field. We're taking out that Spirit of Yubel as we randomly discard the only card left in their hand, say goodbye to that Spirit Gates. What is this field looking like? If they activate anything, we could banish a polymerization to pop a card with the Magnum Reliever. If they activate anything, we could banish their monster with the Little Knight. And we could also use the Chimera Fusion to fuse to pop multiple cards in the field with a Guardian Chimera. That's at least 3 disruption. And we have the Chimera King's Engrave, Baphomet, and Chimera King, which could reborn an engrave or banish monster by reborning the banished, we don't have a banished Sword Knight, no Sword Knight. Where's the Sword Knight at? I guess we don't have any other forms of disruption there. Let's see what's good. Ending the turn with a triple tactics talent being set because we have no way to force them to activate. Unfortunately for them, the effect of using the Chimera King Fusion is not tied to the main phase. So you could trick them by setting the triple tactics talent stating, I would like to end the turn. They would then activate the Guardian Chimera or the regular Chimera Fusion in the graveyard that is, which would then turn on your triple tactics talent. But of course, that's not the case, waiting for the end phase. And just like that, that is a 2-0 victory, right? Did I have this swapped up? Crobat taking game 1 and game 2, 2-0ing Yubel after beating Branded as Chimera now advances to the grand finale. Yubel versus Voiceless Voice with Guardian Chimera that is, in the grand finale waiting. We're going to start this off with the pre-preparation rights being negated by Ash Blossom as Voiceless goes first. We're going to follow up the pre-prep being negated with Barrier the Voiceless searching our deck for a Saphira. Saphira is going to send from the deck a ritual spell to grab a Skull Guardian. With the Skull Guardian, we're going to banish the Saphira to ritual summon by tributing off the in-hand Trias to summon our Skull Guardian to activate and search our deck for a Low. Low come to me while backed up with the Sarvis, which could have protected us from being negated by an impermanence. We are now untargetable as the Low sets up a blessing to recycle the engrave ritual spell back to our hand to now use that ritual spell to ritual over the Low, summoning our Sarvis to trigger the Low to reborn itself from the grave. Let's talk about this field. I'm quite excited to do so. Let's wait for Yubel to draw. Now, oh wow, Veiler late to the party, but the Sarvis would have negated, but then the Sarvis would not have been summoned if it was used to negate the Veiler. That is quite unfortunate. And then the Veiler right now could have instead been an impermanence, but their field is completely untargetable anyway thanks to the barrier. Now, with that said, let's start off with the Ritual Spell Engrave. If any of the ritual monsters leave the field by card effect except by the damage step, it will activate to replace that ritual with a new one. So don't even think about using Super Poly, fusing the Low and the Skull Guardian because both will be replaced and back on the field. That's step one. Not a form of disruption, but protection. Another form of protection is the Barrier of the Voiceless, making it so all our monsters cannot be targeted by card effects and the Low cannot be attacked into. You must attack into a ritual. Now, for our forms of disruption, we have Skull Guardian to negate anything. We have Sarvis to negate an inherent special summon. A really good inherent special summon to negate with the Sarvis, which normally would not be able to negate, is a Fusion Summon. A normal Fusion Summon is through the effect of Polymerization, which the Sarvis cannot negate, but a Contact Fusion with the Phantom of Yubel, that's a negate and banish mate. And the Sarvis is not a hard once returned for some damn reason, as it returns back to the hand, then gets resummoned through the effect of the Blessing to negate again another Phantom of Yubel or Link Summon. That's 2 disruption on just the Sarvis. Now, by using the Blessing to summon the Sarvis again, we're going to use the Low. Low's going to trigger Engrave to Reborn to then set up the trap to then pop not 1, but up to 2 cards in the field, another form of disruption. We're at 4. And then we have Impermanence to negate a monster effect. 5 disruption with this field. Good luck. We're going to start this off with a Spirit Gates, grabbing a Dark Beckoning Beast. Dark Beckoning on summon, activating to search our deck for another Spirit Gates. We're holding off on our negates. No Imperm, no Skull Guardian. Additionally, summon the D-Lotus to now make an Almirage. When I see this, I see a Little Knight. Do we try to stop the Little Knight, or we just let it be summoned, then negate it with the Sarvis? We're going to Spirit Gates first, discard the Escape to Reborn our Dark Beckoning to make that telegraphed Little Knight play. And that's exactly when we're going to Sarvis to negate and banish that Little Knight. And now, D-Lotus will activate to summon for the deck as the Skull Guardian negates that D-Lotus effect hard once per turn, as it will not be rebornable to then use again. We are now going to Trias. Tribute the Low to summon the Trias to trigger our own Blessing, to summon the Sarvis. As I said, it's all happening. To reborn the Low, set up the trap, and be ready to negate another special summon. Activate, set it up mate. 3 fingers, 3 disruption, Sarvis negate, trap pop up to 2 cards, Imperm negate a monster, and it looks like we're passing because that is way too much for us to deal with. Blessing, bless us with Saphira's feet back to our hand here just for you, thank you. We're now going to use the Saphira to send from the deck a ritual spell to grab the Pendulum Graph Odd Eyes. Is this worth even casting? Let's just speed this up. We can't even Veiler. All the light monsters are completely untargetable. Please just end me. 9,400 damage on fields. Let's get battling. There's a chance that they could Spirit of Yubel. You negate Spirit of Yubel, then Spirit of Yubel summons a Yubel from the deck. So, you know, we do want to kind of play this out correctly as we take a definitive Game 1 victory. Let's go for Game 2. Got D-Lotus jumping off the field as our turn 1 play, getting hit by an Ash Blossom, negate, but we got that finger. Finger the Ash, negate. Now, what's left is a Nibiru. We can play around the Nibiru, though. Let's see if we could do it. Oh man, it's very scary to use Apollo, right? If you Nibiru, you Apollo, they then chain impermanence, negate Apollo, you lose your field. If you Phantom of Yubel, you can't get impermanence, but then you lost your Phantom of Yubel. I guess that's something you do want to consider. You have to remember in Master Duel, we're feeling out delays, we are legally cheating, we're seeing the field light up and not light up. So we know by the time it was either our 5th summon or more, not until then did their field actually light up for the Nibiru, and nothing before then for an impermanence. And then we had other opportunities for the Imperm to be used, but if you do have Imperm and Nibiru, it would be ideal to hide both delays, wait for the Nibiru, and then as you saw here, we could have just Imperm crushed the entire field, as the Phantom of Yubel would not be able to help as the Apollo gets negated by impermanence. Now, beyond that fantasy, we have Apollo at 2 monster negates, Phantom as the 3rd monster negate, escape, pop a card in the field mate. We have Soul of Rage, link off with their monster into a double banish, and we have Ash Blossom as the 8th disruption. How is this fair? We have 8 disruptions versus 5 cards in the hand. We should say 4 because we know one of them is a Nibiru. Let's go. We have 2 negates per card, 4 usable cards, 8 negates. Pre-preparation will be the first thing we fire off, as it very easily gets negated by not negated. The Ash Blossom, you fingered yourself. Ain't no way. It's only 7 disruption, not 8. I think we were trolling with that, right? Sniffus knew it was negated. We got 7 disruption for 4 cards. It doesn't even matter. Summon our Skull Guardian with our 7 disruption. The biggest thing you have to ask yourself when you see negates on the field is, can I chain link block? How can I block the negates? You could have 100 negates and you could still block them with the right circumstance. We're going to be summoning a Sarvis. We're going to ritual summon the Sarvis, ritual over the Skull Guardian. Sure. We're going to escape of the Unchained, pop Soul of Rage plus the Sarvis. That's going to trigger the Prayers of the Voiceless to summon from the deck, as the Yama also triggers to reborn the Soul of Rage from engrave back onto the field. Now, the Sarvis on field could use its effect if we wanted to, but it would then be negated by Apollo or the Phantom of Yubel. What do we have left? We have 3 disruption with Soul of Rage, the Apollo, and the Phantom of Yubel. Still 5 disruptions. Let's do it. We're going to open up with Nadir Servant, sending Garura to grab a Dogmatica Maximus to draw 1 card here. Activate the Maximus by banishing from the grave. We now chain Max C. And we now end our turn. Let's talk about this real quick. This is very similar to the Game 1 field, where we have a double Sarvis negate, the low setting up the trap. We have the Skull Guardian negate anything, and the impermanence. So this will be 5 disruption plus a Max C. But will we finger the Max C? If we instead finger the low, they lose one of their forms of disruption, and it could possibly turn off the Skull Guardian. This would scare me on when we want to use the Skull Guardian. If we don't Skull Guardian early, we risk the low being engrave when they use an effect at that point while our negate is turned off. There is no Skull Guardian engrave. We could also try to finger the Sarvis engrave to stop the Sarvis on field, which is going to be used more than once. On this hand, 2 of this is the Sarvis on field, which the finger could stop both of them. We're going to right away shotgun a Phantom of Yubel using our hand to negate a monster effect, but can Phantom of Yubel negate a Sarvis? I know it looks like it, but this Phantom of Yubel is not on the field. This summon is being negated, but we could call by the grave finger the Sarvis engrave, which is exactly what we're doing. Finger the Sarvis engrave, Skull Guardian negates the finger. Now, you may be thinking we should have impermed the Skull Guardian before making a play, but the entire field was untargetable. Just the monsters. Light monsters cannot be targeted. We are now going to trigger the Blessing using the low from the hand, not the field, so we're not in this weird situation where the low engrave could have been fingered. We still maintain the 1 on field. And just like that, we're going to set up the trap to maybe wipe out the D-Lotus. We're going to instead preemptively negate the D-Lotus, which is a hard once per turn effect, so we can just summon another one. With the newly summoned one, it could just then get popped by the trap. Now, are we done? No, we still have the Sarvis negate a special summon. Triggering Yamata Reborn. This is why I'm not saying we made mistakes here, but this is why people usually try to negate the effect of D-Lotus and not preemptively negate its effect of jumping off the field to summon. Because we just summoned the D-Lotus for a third time, and it is activatable, and it's not negatable by the Sarvis. Well, you know, we're drawing a bunch of cards due to Max C, so it don't matter. And we now have another disruption thanks to the Ogre plus the Sarvis. Nightmare Pain. Think about this. If we did not Nightmare Pain to activate to get popped by Ogre, with Spirit Yubel and another Yubel, that's lethal damage on the Skull Guardian. And how would you stop it? 4,000 damage reflected. So that Ogre, we definitely want to stop that. Negates. Now, how do we get another Yubel in the field? If we Phantom of Yubel, the Sarvis would then negate the Phantom of Yubel, and then you struggle to even get that second Yubel even on the field. So we essentially did need the Nightmare Pain to help set up a potential lethal play. Theoretically, Yubel wins this matchup because of a 4,000 attack monster we could double reflect into, but the Sarvis, proving to be way too powerful, continually recycled, continually negating and banishing the summon of Phantom of Yubel. Thus, Voiceless Voice advancing into the grand finale to face off against Chimera. Best of 3, grand finale, no side deck. Are you ready? Begin. Diviner on summon, send from the deck of Trias. Trias is going to tribute over the Diviner to summon onto the field as it is met with a Max C. You're now taking the Max C challenge potentially as we're about to summon 2 bodies on the field. Trias as Diviner triggers to summon a low from the deck. And with this low, we're going to be searching our deck for a Blessing and set it up into our back row. Barrier's going to be searching for a Saphira. Now, we are in a scenario here where we could end our turn without performing a ritual summon, and it would still be pretty damn good. This deck does well under the effect of Max C, even with the most Max C affected hand played, that is the Diviner. Diviner into Max C, not so good, but even then, with the Blessing, we let them summon. We then trigger the Blessing to perform a ritual summon on their turn. Now, the big problem is, what if your opponent has a Finger? They do. Fingering our low will screw up everything if we decide to play around Max C. I think this is the most pivotal point of this match right now. What's going to happen? Send a ritual spell to grab a Skull Guardian. Okay, we didn't play into the Finger. We did not. We did not wait to trigger the Blessing. We're just doing it right here, right now. Nicely done. And, I mean, we could have tributed the Trias to keep the low on field. Maybe we should have actually done that during their turn, possibly. Instead of giving them a free draw under Max C. Pendulum Graph, Blessing, add back a banished Saphira. Let's set in pass. What are our disruptions here? We have Max C, backed up by the Skull Guardian, being used in the draw phase to play around the triple tactics talent, which is, we have to activate in the main phase a monster effect in order for them to take control one of our monsters, which they are completely untargetable, but it's a non-target yoink or rip a card from our hand. So overall, our disruptions are, we could pop a card with Radiance, negate with the Skull Guardian, we could Ogre, pop a card in the field, and then we also could use Blessing to summon a Pendulum Graph, which could negate a spell. That's about 4 disruptions we have here, plus the Max C. We're going to call by the grave, attempt to finger that Max C as the Skull Guardian negates, ensuring the Max C goes through. We're going to draw per special summon. 3 disruptions left. Trap, Blessing, and Ogre. Woo-wee, what the? We hard normal summon the Barrier statue, which we could very easily just pop with the Radiance. But while this is face up on the field, neither player could special summon except Dark Monsters, which did not trigger the Blessing because of the Odd Eyes Pendulum Graph being light. I'm going to draw a Sarvis. We're now protected from targeting protection. We have the Nightmare Apprentice being destroyed by the Ogre. Now, this is a sussy situation here. We are turning on, for the first time, their triple tactics talent. Crobat is turned on and ready to use the talent to take control, look at our hand, or draw 2. Get poppin'. Oh boy, we already used up that normal summon. And if he activates the talent, I think we have to chain the trap. because if he takes our ritual, we have no way to wipe out the barrier statue. Instead of taking control, they're going to look at our hand. That's fine. Take it. Now, instead of summoning the Pendulum Graph, we're going to summon a Sarvis instead. We still have that disruption. We could pop with the trap and negate a summon with Sarvis. Now, Sarvis against Chimera, it's not good. It can't negate these polymerizations. Let's talk about this. What is going on here? This Guardian Chimera is non-target poppage, but it also can't be targeted. So thanks to the polymerization being engraved, we cannot use the Radiance to target the Guardian Chimera to pop it. Now, the Guardian Chimera being non-target poppage means it could pop through a barrier protecting our monsters from targeting effects. Another but is if we have a ritual spell engrave and you destroy our ritual monster, we summon a ritual monster from the deck, so we don't want to do that. But the Guardian Chimera will be great for popping back row instead. We can take out the trap, it could be a decent play. Let's see, we use 2 cards in the hand and 1 on field. That's going to be pop 1 card in the field plus draw 2. Maxi, continually drawing. Baphomet's going to be chain link blocking the Guardian Chimera. We are triggering the Blessing to summon a Sarvis. Sure. Tribute it off to summon our Sarvis. Now, it's important to note that if you have the Chimera Fusion on the field and they were to use it on my turn, I control the Blessing, you summon a Guardian Chimera, what's going to happen is the Blessing for the turn player would be on the lower chain link of trigger priority. The Guardian Chimera would be higher, which essentially could then negate the Blessing by popping it on the higher chain link. But because the player positions is swapped, the player priority is instead switched, where the Blessing's on a higher chain link and cannot be stopped with the Guardian Chimera. So the more obvious choice here is to destroy the face down trap instead. We just lost out on a form of disruption as we now cannot pop a card on the field. Now with the Sarvis, we are able to negate an inherent special summon, which it's not going to work with Super Poly, not going to work against Polymerization, not going to work against the Chimera Fusion. What it can work against is a little Knight, which we can't even summon. Can work against an Xyz, which we can't even summon. The Baphomet has locked us in a fusion summoning only. So Sarvis is nothing. Sarvis, an immensely powerful card that crushes other decks like Yubel, is doing nothing against Chimera. And Chimera, under Max C, is seemingly going all the way. Now, there is a secret effect on the field. The Sarvis cannot be destroyed by battle, and hopefully that does not catch us off guard. Holy fusion summon! We are sending 4 cards for our fusion summon for the ultimate effect, which Timeless, if you surrender, I swear on me, Mom, you will not get prize for it. It's actually a part of the rules. Timeless would not do that though. This 4 material fusion summon has the effect of when you attack a monster, it can't be destroyed by battle. But after the first attack, the monster is reduced to 0. And then you have 3 more attacks at 3,100, 31, 62, 9,300 damage if you use this with 4 materials. Also, you take some damage on the first attack if they are small enough. Let's get to it. Attack into the Skull Guardian. Reduce to 0. Attack again. Attack again. Lethal damage on the 4th attack. Yes. Crobat, you've done that, what, twice today? I love it. That's beautiful. That is impossible to do on the ladder. Impossible. They will always surrender. You surrender before the battle phase. They'll surrender on the first attack, surrender on the second attack. They'll surrender on the third. They'll even surrender on the 4th attack. This never drops someone to 0 life. Start this off with Nadir. We're going to check for some hand traps here. Send Garura, draw a card. Maximus to our hand, randomly drawing into a barrier. What did we accomplish here? Oh boy. You have Ogre, which will, in response to a monster effect, activate and we can destroy it. It does not negate. Continuous spell and traps, though, I don't think the Ogre against Chimera actually does anything. We have Imperm, which can negate a monster on field, but with the Polymerization Guardian Chimera combo, it's completely untargetable. That's not going to be so good. Now, our field is completely untargetable also, thanks to the barrier, and our forms of disruption are Pendulum Graph can negate a card like Polymerization. We have the Skull Guardian, which can negate anything. And we also have the Sarvis, which could summon a Sarvis ritual to negate an inherent special summon, which could then be summoned again by tributing the Low. And then Low could reborn from the grave to use the trap to get poppin'. It's about 7 disruptions. But again, some of our disruptions are just not very good. Sarvis is not good against a Chimera deck, as it is against other decks. So with 7 disruption, are you ready? Let's go. Discard Nibiru, summon Nightmare Apprentice. We're now going to be activating the Sarvis. Imperm, negate the Apprentice from searching for an illusion. We are down to 6 disruptions only. Comfort Sarvis, which could trigger our own blessing. No, we don't want to do that because we don't have a ritual in our hand. We're going to use the Pendulum Graph to negate the Polymerization. Negate. Now down to 5 disruptions, summoning a Meteor Burst, which is not a form of disruption. Gazelle on summon, activating to search our deck. We're not negating, but we're destroying with the Ghost Ogre. Now down to Quadra Disruption. We still have an Omni Negate on the Skull Guardian. What is good? Chimera Fusion, which we did not negate with the Skull Guardian. Had we negated it, the Chimera Fusion Engrave would add itself back to the hand to then activate again, so it would be wasteful. We're going to summon a Baphomet off of this Fusion summon. We're going to Chain Link block the Baphomet, reborning the Apprentice, as the Baphomet is going to send a monster from the deck to the grave, and we do not respond with any negates. Now there's a big problem. Sword Knight is pinning down Skull Guardian from activating. It does not matter that Skull Guardian cannot be targeted. The Skull Guardian will be negated if it's not, you can't Chain Link block it. It's negate. It's just going to be negated by the Sword Knight. That's it. Reborn the Apprentice. Chimera Fusion add back from Engrave to our hand. As we now, Chimera Fusion, we're negating its second use. And what did I say? Skull Guardian being negated by Sword Knight. We're at triple disruption. This looks like it's not triple, right? It's double Sarvis and a low effect. Problem is, it's going to be difficult to even Sarvis. Can't Sarvis that, can't Sarvis the other play. Sarvis is just not going to pop off. So these 3 disruptions, while amazing against other decks, is too conditional for this matchup. Because you activated the Pendulum Graph, we're going to chain the Reliever, which cannot target any of your monsters. We're taking out the Pendulum Graph instead of the Blessing. I feel like taking out Blessing is incredibly important. Now, the Barrier is going to be searching for the Radiance, which the Low was supposed to set up on the previous turn. Saphira is going to send a Ritual Spell to grab a Skull Guardian from the deck. We're going to return the Ritual Spell plus a spell back in the deck to summon our regular Sarvis, triggering the Blessing, tributing the Low in hand to come forth and summon a second copy of Skull Guardian, double 4100. You cannot activate any monster effects whatsoever. The Apprentice cannot be destroyed by battle, continually swinging over her and taking out the Magnum Reliever. Not enough for game. Blessing add back from Engraver Banishment, our Saphira, as we then end our turn. The Baphomet in the end phase will be activating to reborn back the Banished Sword Knight, which was used previously to negate the Skull Guardian. Skull Guardian is going to negate, as it's just a hard once per turn. The negate is back on the very next turn. We have Skull Guardian negate, we have the Radiance pop a card, we have Sarvis to go into a Sarvis ritual to negate a summon, we have Blessing to then resummon it and negate again. We have about 4 disruption. We're going to flip up the Radiance to pop up to 2 cards on the field, say goodbye to you. With 3 more disruption, they pass with no play available. Omni negate, straight to the battle phase, can't activate any monster effects. Lethal with the Skull Guardian, taking this into game 3. Oh boy. Oh boy. Chimera going first in game 3. It is a massive problem for Voiceless how much Sarvis sucks in this matchup. Sarvis ain't helping. Hey, speaking of the statue, it is in our hand. Neither player could special summon monsters except dark monsters. If this weren't in our hand, we could get it from the deck into the grave, then have a way to reborn it. But the counter to the statue is draw the out being the imperm that's already in our hand. Oh boy. Could also Nadir Servant send Entis pop the statue. We got outs. Maxi in their draw phase as we don't even bother activating the Ash, as we then go into a barrier set called by the Grave play. Ain't no way this will be enough. We already see the impermanence in hand, but backed up by the barrier statue is a Finger, Ash, and Max C. So 2 Disruption plus Max C. Let's see what's good. A Dear Servant, send an Entis to grab the Maximus. By fingering the Entis, it stops Maximus from even being summoned. So you'd think that this may be redundant, negating and banishing and fingering the Entis. Negates, no Maximus summon for you. We are now relying on the Ash and Maxi as the Imperm negates the barrier, which was disallowing us from summoning any non-dark monsters. Barrier activating to search. We're hoping that is their only big play. As we negate that barrier, we are now solely reliant on the Maxi. Maxi, and that's it. As Saphira sends in the deck a ritual spell to grab the Skull Guardian, Saphira is going to ritual summon that Skull Guardian as we now rely on that Max C to draw just 1. We don't have to commit further beyond this. We still have a great setup just like this. As we summon Skull Guardian, search for low, then normal summon the low. We're not special summoning anything beyond this. It's not needed. Grab the low, and then, of course, if we wanted to perform a Maxi challenge, maybe try to lethal, that would be different. Straight to battle, get rid of that statue, poke for 50. Now, what is the situation here as we end our turn? Let's pretend they have a Super Poly. It's no good because the ritual spell will summon a new Skull Guardian from the deck, triggering low in the grave to reborn, completely replacing the field. So we do have that ritual spell protection from card effect removal. We also have the barrier protecting our monsters from being targeted by card effects. Can't imperm the Skull Guardian. Also can't attack the low. We have to swing in a Skull Guardian if we want to attack. Now, beyond the protection, what do we have? We have the Radiance popping 1 card in the field and the Skull Guardian negating anything. Beyond that, we just have Nibiru and that's it. Oh boy. We're going to send the Edge Imp Chain to summon the Nightmare Apprentice, which will be chain link blocked by the Edge Imp Chain, protecting the Nightmare Apprentice from the Skull Guardian negating and destroying. Grabbing a Frightful Patchwork, plus a Codal here. We have not committed to our normal summon yet. Patchwork searching for a Polymerization, plus our Edge Imp Chain. Codal being discarded to search our deck for a Gazelle. With that in our hand, we're going to activate Polymerization, fusing with our hand and field to make an untargetable Guardian Chimera. Now, you may be thinking you want to negate and destroy this, which would be a good thing to do because it's about to draw 2 plus destroy 1, but it's going to be chain link block protected by the Gazelle being sent to the grave. Gazelle is activating, as I said. We're chain link blocking the Gazelle, stopping it from searching for any illusion monster. We're going to use the Radiance. Now, the Radiance could not have destroyed it, but the Radiance will instead summon a monster onto the field like the Sarvis non-ritual. There we go. We still have our 3 disruption. Well, so that's now gone. We negated the Gazelle search. Good popping the newly summoned Sarvis. We just lost another form of disruption. This little finger is a Nibiru. Nothing else is activatable. We're done. We're out of juice. Are we going to look at the hand and take that Nibiru out of here? What do we do? No, we're going for that draw 2. We don't care about Nibiru. Normal Max C. Huh? Little Knight on summon, banish a back row card as we can't target the monsters. Say goodbye to the barrier. 4 cards left. We can now take out the low as the barrier is no longer protecting it as we end our turn before our 5th summon. Now, we have our own Nibiru, and I said this in today's event, Nibiru stocks are way up now that Tenpai is much less relevant. Off the top of the deck, Diviner, we're going to chain Little Knight to banish the Diviner. We're going to chain the Radiance to destroy the Little Knight. This is so important that the Little Knight banishes the Diviner because the Diviner wants to be tributed. Tributed through a ritual summon effect or through the Trias because when tributed, it's going to summon a low from the deck. Now, if we pop the Little Knight, does the Little Knight get negated? No. So we still get banished, right? We don't get banished because the Little Knight no longer has itself or the banishment, right? It targeted itself and the Diviner, which is unfortunate here as, the Diviner is now going to go through. A question could be, why did the Little Knight not target the Skull Guardian and Diviner? And the answer is, there's no ritual spell in the grave, so I don't know. Why? Why, right? Why did we not do that? You can't? Why can't we do that? This is targetable. What do you mean you can't? The ritual spell's not engraved, which would trigger off of this leaving the field, but it's not there. The Little Knight is now getting popped by this, thus it does not banish. I'm a bit confused. Oh, you have to choose one of your... Thank you. Yeah. Oops. I tried to cheat. I did not do that locals. My bad. You have to be one of your own monsters. Thank you. We didn't do that because that'd be cheating. Don't do that. Or you can. I don't care. Trias is going to tribute over Diviner to come forth and summon because it was not banished, triggering the Diviner to summon from the deck a low. Low set up into the back row, a barrier, and just like that, lethal damage. Damn. Nicely done. Timeless defeating Chimera going first. We did max see them, but they had barrier statue. So does it balance out? You had a floodgate, I had a max C. I don't know, man. 150 players. We have top 16 breakdown. Yubel, mate, ain't no way. And Yubel is only going to get better with the release of Varudras and with Fiendsmith. Looking good for Yubel. We have Voiceless Voice. I swear there was more than one in the top 16. No way. Okay, maybe I was just biased on thinking that. Triple Gimmick Puppet. That is interesting. Let's check out these deck lists real quick. Rescue Ace, 46 cards. A deck that did not enjoy the matchup against Tenpai, but due to the ban list, Tenpai is not as relevant, so it's time to whip this out. Good job, Nicky Boy, using and abusing the Azure Rune. We now have Sprites. 60 card Chris playing Sprite. Here is the main deck. We got the Simmel Archfiends to be anti-link. And in addition to, instead of using something like a dimensional barrier, this can help against links. Here is the extra deck. There is the main. This is a fun deck to play, especially if you win with the Mosquito. Make sure you do that. What else do we have? We have the Valmonica. 40 card Valmonica. May did well with this. Happy to see it. Love it. Didn't really get to see the use of the Angel of Blue Tears, but all right, this is fine. And let's see, we have Snake Eye. Peria, this is Snake Eye Orchist. 60 card though. Oh my goodness, what a thick deck. And we have, despite Hornet Drones being unlimited, we're still using 3 Engage and 1 Hornet Drones and 1 Widow Anchor. Damn, I thought we would maybe up the Hornet Drones up. I guess it's maybe not that good or relevant that it got hit. And then here is the extra deck. We don't need the Orchestrated Babble. We're going to summon this with our Flameburge. We do play Divine Temple. That's another way to summon the Dingirsu. What else we have? We have Labyrinth. Haga not playing the Equation Cannon. We got double rollback with the Backjack and Furniture combo here. Very nice. What else? We have Ritual Beast, the winning deck type of last week. Yup. All right, I'm also going to search for the word Nibiru. We're going to count how many Nibirus are in all the decks. And then we have Branded April with a modest 20-hour guide on YouTube. Make sure you check it out. Good job, April. 60 card, looking good. What else do we have here? Chimera. Level 100 Crobat with Chimera. What a mad lad. Did so well in today's event. 40 cards. Yup. What else do we have? Voiceless. First place Timeless. 41 cards. This is the last tournament without Mulch Armies. And it might be the last tournament with Max C. It's gonna happen, guys. Hipster with Guardian Gimmick Puppet, that is, the G deck. Got the Gimmick Puppet Leo. Leo, first turn kill. The best way to first turn kill. Good job, Hipster. And then Karma. A lot of you are playing this rank up magic. Instead of another copy of the rank up magic Argent, we get the one that negates the whole field. This is really good for going second. This is what you'd put in your side deck if you were playing Gimmick Puppet in TCG. Us being best of 1 and also having no side deck. We are best of 3, but Master Duel in general being best of 1 makes us a good card. Karma also playing it. And Asanwan says, nah, I'm going to stick to 2. Thank you very much. What if 1 gets DD Crowed? Good job. Let's see the final deck type. with Yubel. The last time Yubel's not going to be playing with Varadros. They're all going to be put in the Varadros. Melito, the main deck should not change whatsoever. We just got to take a card out from the extra deck. You let me know what you think would be best to take out. Now, maybe we'll drop Super Poly to make room in the extra deck. That may be a main deck change. And then also, probably, we're going to put in Mulcharmies, right? Mulcharmies, take out the extra deck. Sniffus is not on the Super Poly engine here. As Melito, I just want to make sure I call out your name. Thank you. We're triple Peri Reese map. Triple, double, wow. We really need that consistency, huh? And then Yuki, not on the Peri Reese map, instead playing the Kashtira engine. Nicely done, Yuki, good job, thank you. Now, let's see. The usage of Nibiru in today's events. We have the top 16 Meta Weekly, Nibiru. So these are all decks playing Nibiru, but I want to show you what happens when I do the Star 3. These are the decks playing 3 Nibiru. These are the decks playing 2 Nibiru. These are 2 Nibiru, and then these are the decks playing 1 Nibiru. So there you go. That's the analytics on Nibiru being used in the Meta Weekly on how many you should use. It looks like 2 is the best spot to be putting Nibiru at. Yep, 3 is the rarest, followed by 1, then 2 Nibiru. There you go. And you can do that with any card you want. You know, make sure you, what's this called? Regex editing or something? I don't even know. All right. And thank you very much. Let's go to the tier list real quick. Despite Tenpai not doing well in my last tournament and today's tournament, it's still at tier 1 because despite what many people tell you, this is all the community tournaments put together on what's on the tier list. So back-to-back, no Tenpai essentially, still tier 1. It's going to take a bit more tournaments, including the other community events, to get Tenpai to completely fall off. I'm not sure if the other community tournaments are on the new ban list yet. That could also be a big reason. And there you go. Good job. Chimera has made it here. Chimera is doing well also in the Cosmic Clash. Cosmic Clash, there we go. Looking a little bit different than today's event. And thank you all very much. I'm going to see you for the January tournament this Thursday on YouTube a little bit there and then on Twitch. So thank you all for your support. I appreciate it immensely. We out.